President Trump got something done that was amazing for the American people. Of course, almost immediately ignored. They were focused on other things. And there's other things going on, but too often, policy and accomplishments of this president do get ignored. But this is a big one. Listen.
My administration will also finalize rules requiring federally funded health centers to pass drug company discounts on insulin and EpiPens directly to patients, and the EpiPen prices come way down. We remember those horrible stories about EpiPen. Well, the prices now come way, way, way down. We capped insulin costs for many seniors at just $35 a month, as I said, saving them an average of nearly $500 to $1,000 a year just on insulin.
That is a big deal. I know people who go to Canada to get insulin. It is a major accomplishment. He bargained himself. He worked this himself with the big drug companies. And you know what? They got payback. When they came out with that vaccine, you'll remember it came out after the election. That's when they noticed it. A lot of people think they did that to hurt Donald Trump because they're frustrated, because he is a tough negotiator. All right. Something else happened in Washington, D.C. today that was kind of interesting. A prominent lawmaker from Michigan who will be an elector in the Electoral College came to visit the president, and this is how he was greeted at the airport. He's the one with the stars on his mask. Watch.
Sir, are you committed to upholding the results of a free and fair election? Will you honor the will of the Michigan voter? Will you honor the will of the Michigan voter?
State Senator Mike Shirkey, the majority leader in the Michigan State Senate. He will be an elector next month. One of the electoral votes is his. There's all kinds of discussions about what might happen with the Michigan delegation. You can see he was greeted by a lot of reporters and some protesters as well. Stay tuned. This will get very, very interesting. In the meantime, I think we have to remember that this is up to us, not to them. This is up to the people, not to the media. They just want to call this election over. They are so anxious to do that, but it is ultimately not their call. And let's face it, they have let us down so many times, the media, certainly during the presidency of Donald Trump, but throughout history. Here are a couple of brief examples that we all recall. Perhaps the Duke lacrosse case, the media got it totally wrong. The Covington kids, the media got it totally wrong. And that man on the lower left there, that's Ronnie Long. He recently got out of jail, 44 years for a crime he did not commit. Guess what? The media, they were against him, along with crooked cops and prosecutors, put him in jail for all that time. We've seen this a million times. It's not up to the media to determine what's right and what's wrong. It's up to the people, and they have gotten it wrong for a long, long time. But they are awfully eager to point to one person and say, aha, this is the moment when it's all over. Some media figure. We used to have those. Walter Cronkite, remember him? CBS, if you're old enough, you might. He was something of a legend. And really, they said what he said, the country did, or something like that. As Cronkite said, so it goes. Anyway, the guy had a lot of influence. In fact, some people believe that he hastened the end of the Vietnam War.
For it seems now more certain than ever that the bloody experience of Vietnam is to end in a stalemate. But it is increasingly clear to this reporter that the only rational way out then will be to negotiate, not as victors, but as an honorable people who lived up to their pledge to defend democracy and did the best they could.
And I wonder if he talked like that in his regular life, if he went around with that kind of peculiar cadence. Walter Cronkite was, he leaned left, a little bit like Walter Mondale. He took all kinds of freebies, that's in Doug Brinkley's book, and he was often wrong about the country. They looked at him like he was the expert on everything, but gosh, people actually in their own way rejected him. 1972, this country went overwhelmingly for Richard Nixon, even when the elite media, they were all for his opponent, George McGovern. So where does that leave us now? The media, they still want to have the power that Walter Cronkite had. And people still want Walter Cronkite-like figures in their lives. I believe this to an extent. You know, the media is all broken up now. But lately, Tucker Carlson is getting a lot of attention. And Tucker's a talented, smart guy. But I don't think this is up to him this election. He doesn't get to call it. And right now, a good chunk of the conservative world is on the edge of their seat waiting for Tucker to call it a day for President Trump. It doesn't work like that. And Tucker, as smart as he is and as good as he is, I think he's getting a little carried away with himself. He's threw a bit of a hissy fit last night because one of the lawyers on President Trump's team wasn't prompt in getting him the evidence that he thinks he deserves to see.
On Sunday night, we texted her after watching one of her segments. We simply wanted to see the details. How could you not want to see them? So we invited Sidney Powell on the show. We would have given her the whole hour. We would have given her the entire week, actually, and listened quietly the whole time at rapt attention. That's a big story. But she never sent us any evidence, despite a lot of requests, polite requests, not a page. When we kept pressing, she got angry and told us to stop contacting her.
You see, I understand that Sidney Powell is busy. She's got a lot going on. And also that it might not be in her interest or her client's interest to put that evidence out there right now. I mean, what do you think the media are going to do with it? They're going to crap all over it, quite frankly, okay? Certain people will take it seriously, but no one else is. They're looking for holes in this thing. So I think we should cut these lawyers a lot of slack. And keep in mind, Tucker Carlson may have some competing interests in play here. They're talking about him running for president. Can you believe that? Hey, he might be a good candidate. Who knows? Tucker Carlson in 2024, the GOP is buzzing. I've actually heard about this. Look, anything can happen, but I do have to warn the audience, and I probably should warn Tucker Carlson that there's been a lot of opposition research about him already. And I happen to know something about Tucker that is rather disturbing. And I'm going to tell you about it. For years of his adult life, he actually wore a bow tie. I could never figure out that bow tie thing. Tucker was smart enough. He didn't need the bow tie, but anyway, for a long time, it was his thing. It raises questions again, though. People are talking about what's happening at Fox. Fox does seem to be going through something of an identity crisis. They're not very supportive of the president these days. They seem to be bending over backwards to hurt him. They sent Chris Wallace to moderate the first debate, who clearly was running interference, protecting Joe Biden and trying to trip up the president. That was wild. And I think this was sanctioned at the very, very top of the company, the Murdochs. Now, the Murdochs, hey, got to hand it to them. They have started many, many successful businesses, and they've employed a lot of people. But when you succeed at that level, I think you get the idea, possibly in your mind, that you should be running the country. Something tells me, and I've heard this, that they don't like Donald Trump for personal reasons. And they've let it be known to their staff over there at Fox that don't be nice to this guy. You gotta toughen up on him. It's not always just about the facts. It's not always just about the story. These folks get to shape the story. I saw an example of this once. It's not a perfect analogy, but there was this movie called Quiz Show back in 1994. And they got this hotshot guy who just won a game show, and now he's a correspondent on the Today Show. And something very bad is happening, but the head of the company wants him to do something that will serve his interests, not this young man's, but this is how it went down.
Speculation in our society is a way of becoming fact. Television is a public trust.
Well, I'd rather not do it. I'm sorry.
Haven't we been good to you? Haven't we treated you like part of our family? We have great expectations for you, Charlie. I know you're going to do the right thing.
He even looks like Rupert Murdoch, and that's how they get you to say what they want you to say. Little pep talks like that. You know, Fox News Channel was first operated by a guy named Roger Ailes. He came from Warren, Ohio. He achieved great success in politics and in media, but he never stopped talking about Ohio, where he came from. This is his house back in Warren, middle-class house, pretty ordinary place. But if you ever talk to Roger, this was really the most important house he ever lived in. He talked about his upbringing. That's what governed his philosophy, his approach to the news, his anti-elite kind of world outlook. It was very, very valuable, and it commanded a large audience. Right now, Fox is run by a guy who lives in this house. I'm going to show you it now. It's in Beverly Hills. In fact, this house, I'm told, was the house that the Beverly Hillbillies had in the show back in the 1960s. Isn't that something? Isn't that something? Right now, we've got a lot of people buying Barack Obama's book. Have you heard about this? It sold something like 1 million copies so far. Yeah, he's promoting it. There's the book cover, A Promised Land. And in promoting it, he was on 60 Minutes on Sunday, and now he's on the cover of InStyle magazine. And take a look at that picture one more time. We showed this last night, but boy, oh boy, is this smug or what, huh? What is he thinking? I'll tell you what I'm thinking. This is not how a leader poses. This is not a leader. This is a smug guy who is cashing in, who probably all his life just wanted to be powerful, rich, and famous, and now he's all those things. And he's blowing off a community that needs him, Chicago. You know what's going on there? Children are killing other children. We have children having children. We have families that are in crisis. And he just gets richer. Although someday he'll have some sort of community center and he's going to hold classes about leadership or government or something like that.
It's going to be a place where, you know, we have this standard model Oval Office and Michelle's dresses, which will be very popular, no doubt. But also, you know, a whole host of facilities that allow us to provide classroom training to young people who are interested in public service, and, you know, to beautify a park that can serve a whole bunch of young people who've been underserved in the past.
Well, they're being underserved right now, and I have said this, and I'm serious, that he could negotiate peace between warring gangs in Chicago. He commands their respect, and I believe he could make a real difference, but I don't think he's interested. I think he's interested in his legacy and in his lifestyle. And that's a shame, because there's a lot of potential there, a lot of potential. It's interesting how the media worship this guy, and they have such contempt for Donald Trump. I want to show you one of the most impressive moments, I think, from his presidency. It happened during the Republican National Convention. You know, they call Donald Trump a xenophobe. Xenophobe swearing in immigrants from all over the world. Let's see, we have one from Bolivia, Lebanon, India, Ghana, the Sudan. It was an incredible moment. Again, they try to portray him as a racist and a xenophobe. He's not those things. And if they can say those things about him, what can they say about us?
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.